I'm the Lonely Necron, and welcome to my basement. So, I I can't afford the books and the models, so I get most of my lore from YouTube videos. And one of my favorite pieces of Necron lore is the War in Heaven, and how the old ones had to create races to fight the Necrons, specifically their krorks and the Eldar. So, playing against the Eldar and the Orcs on tabletop is kind of like a miniature fighting the descendants war in heaven kind of thing. It gives me the giggles a little bit, so I figured I would put all of my orcs and all of my Eldar against a decent amount of Necrons, and we'll see what happens when we do that. This is a Mephitic Blight Hauler. When I played the Death Guard against the orcs beat the crap out of the Death Guard. So I've started buying some more Death Guard to hopefully pump them up enough that they don't get stomped next time. I got this fast attack unit. Hopefully that'll at least get the ball rolling for more units. Alright, so this is the majority of my broken city terrain. Gonna have the Eldar on one end of the table, the orcs on the other end of the table, and then the Necrons in the middle, probably somewhere along the line of these buildings here. Okay, so here we have the Eldar that are going to be at one end of the board. So we have a Farseer, who knows Fortune and Executioner. A pair of Warlocks that are not in a conclave, but they really do like to hang out. One knows Enhance, one knows Protect. And a Spirit Seer that knows Jinx. Two 5-man squads of Dire Avengers. A 10-man squad of Guardian Defenders with a heavy weapons platform, the Shuriken Cannon. 5 Wind Riders. 5 Wraithblades. A Wraith Lord with the Bright Lance and the Eldari Missile Launcher. And a Wraith Knight with a Star Cannon, a Sun Cannon, a Shuriken Cannon, and the Heavy Wraith Cannon. So, these guys will be on one end. All of these orcs will be at the other end, led by the War Boss in Mega Armor. I guarantee at some point during this game I'm going to call him like the Warlord or the something. I'm going to mess his name up a bunch. I always do. We also have a Beast Boss. So we got 2 groups of 10 regular boys. One with a rocket launcher, one with a big shooter. 10 commandos. They got a breacher, a rocket launcher, a brenna, big shooter, a bunch of guys with knives, being all stealthy and stuff. 10 grots. A mech gun, that's a bubble chucker. 10 beast boys to go with the beast boss. 3 depth copters. 2 with the depth copter rockets and 1 with the custom mega blaster. A depth killer wartrike. And a depth dread with twin scorches and twin dread claws. Alright. So those 2 guys are going to be at either end. And these guys are going to be in the middle. I have an Overlord with a Void Scythe and a Resurrection Orb. Looks like a Cryptek, but it's really a Technomancer. I might one of these days get around to actually getting the actual Technomancer model, but rent, you know. We got 8 Lich-Guard with the Hyperphase Sword and the Shield. 10 Necron Warriors with the Gauze Reaper. 2 groups of 10 Necron Immortals with the Tesla Carbine, 3 Scorpic Destroyers, 3 Tomb Blades, Tesla Carbines, Shield Banes, and Nebula Scopes, 2 Hexmark Destroyers, 2 Locust Heavy Destroyers, 1 with the Gauss Destructor, 1 with the Enmitic Exterminator, a Canoptic Spider with the Particle Caster, I think that is, 9 Scarabs, an Annihilation Barge with a Gauss Cannon, and the Transcendent Titan. He knows Cosmic Fire and Antimatter Meteor. So yeah, these guys are essentially caught between a rock and a hard place, and they got to fight their way out of it. I'm not going to put my money on the Necrons. I mean, I hope they win because I always hope the Necrons win, but they got 30 power level less than the other 2 combined, so could go either way. So I'm going to reset the board and play this awesome game. I've been wanting to play this game, so looking forward to seeing how it goes. So the Orcs won the roll-off. They chose this side over here. We've got a group of boys in the front behind this building here. Depth Dread and the Depth Coptus in this alley. The Beast Boss and Beast Boys inside this building. Death Killer Wartrike and the Mech Gun in this alley. Other group of boys with the War Boss and the Krorks in front in this building. And then slightly ahead of them we have the Commandos. So that puts the Eldar on this side. So the Guardian Defenders and the Wraith Knight on this far left side. Wind Riders in this alley. Both sets of Dire Avengers with the Warlocks in this building. And over here on the far corner of the edge we have the Wraithblades, the Wraithlord, and the Spirits here. That leaves us with the Necrons in the middle here. Kind of a mess for these guys because they didn't have a lot of room. We've got Lich Guard, the Heavy Destroyers, the Warriors, Cryptek, the Transcendent Titan, and the Overlord Call, all kind of in this area. Then the Annihilation Barge, the Spider, the Scarabs, the Tomb Blades, and the Scorpics on this far left side. And inside this building we have the Immortals and a Hexmark Destroyer. We have the exact same 2 units over here inside this building. Alright, so Orcs did win the roll-off. Nobody managed to steal, so we'll start with Orcs and movement. Alright, so the majority of the Orcs have advanced forwards. These boys advanced, the Death Dread advanced, the Depth Coptus just moved, the Beast Boys and the Beast Boss advanced out of the building here. The Mech Gun's never going to move. These boys advanced, the Wartrike just moved forward. These Commandos moved up, these Grots advanced. And the War Boss, who's hiding in the shadows there, also advanced forward. No Psychers for these guys. So the shooting phase. So the Mech Gun killed off one of the Locust Heavy Destroyers. Depth Killer Wartrike killed off one of these Necron Warriors. And the Depth Coptus killed off a Scorpic and mostly killed off another Scorpic. So it's really not bad shooting for Orcs. Kinda decent. So for charges for these guys, the Depth Killer Wartrike is for sure going to charge into the Necron Warriors. And over here, the commandos are going to charge into the Hexmark Destroyer. Alright, so sometimes my Necron dice just roll really ridiculously well. In the case of this Hexmark here, he killed 9 of the commandos in Overwatch and actually managed to kill the Knob and the melee damage thing. I mean, he took a couple points of damage from the Choppa, but somehow he managed to bludgeon the Knob to death. And that was amazing. The Depth Killer Wartrike made its charge and only suffered 1 damage in Overwatch. It also managed to kill off 3 of the Necron Wares. And their attempts to gunbutt it in response did nothing at all. Alright, so that means it is the Eldar's turn. We'll start with their movement. Alright, so pretty much everybody except for the Wind Riders and the Wraith Knight advanced forward. Guardian Defenders got kind of far. Farseer did not. These Dire Avengers got off the building. The Wind Riders just moved way, way forward. The Dire Avengers that were on the ground advanced over to here. And then the Wraithblade, Spiritseer, and Wraith Lord all are just further advancing up this end piece here. So, Psyker Phase. I guess not Psyker Phase. These Warlocks advanced off of this building here. One of those Warlocks is going to try and cast Protect, I think. The one that gives the +1 to save. Manifests it on a 7. Gets it on an 8. This near squad of Dire Avengers gets a +1 to their saving throws until the next Psychic Phase. And that'll put us onto the Eldar shooting phase. This should really be a fun phase since these guys really are super close. So the Eldar, yeah, they definitely put forth a great effort. Pretty much everybody shot. The Wind Riders managed to kill off one of the Lich Guard. But the Wraith Knight came through, killed 2 more Lich Guard and the remaining Locust Heavy Destroyer. That's a blow. That's gonna hurt here in a little while. I was really hoping those guys would be able to take out the Wraith Knight, not the other way around. Oh well. They didn't really do anything else, damage-wise. Not really close enough to charge with anything. Don't really want to charge with the Wind Riders because they don't really have any melee. So that'll make it the Necron turn. Movement. Alright, so before the movement phase, all of the wounded Necrons, one of the Scorpex and the Hexmark, regained a lost wound, and the Technomancer reanimated 1 Necron warrior this time. Movement-wise, everybody moved. It was a good time. These warriors fell back away from the Depth Killer Wartrike here. The Transcendent Catan moved really, really close to it. The Lich Guard are heading towards the Wind Riders over there. The Hexmark that destroyed the Commandos has come out to probably destroy these Grots. The Immortals are just going to hang out up here. The Tomb Blades and the Scorpex all moved closer to the Death Coptas over there. The Lord and the Annihilation Bards are just going to hang out. On the far side, the Scarabs moved over towards the Wraithblades with the Spider advancing behind them. This Hexmark has also come out from the building to take on these boys. And the immortals up here are just going to hang out up here. That's going to take us to the Catan power phase. So he's going to do Cosmic Fire. All enemy units within 9 inches, I roll a d6. Higher than a 4, they take d3 mortal wounds. So that will be the Death Killer Wartrike, the Beast Boss, the Beast Boys, and these boys. So for the Death Killer Wartrike, that's a 4. D3 wounds. 1 wound. Let's quickly go ahead and mark that since I'm here. A Beast Boss. That is not a 4-up. The Beast Boys. Also not a 4-up. And then for the regular boys, not a 4-up. I'd say 1 out of 3 ain't bad if I was talking about an orc shooting experience, but for a Necron Catan experience, that's really not the best. I kind of wish I'd done something else, but here we are. I did a little bit of damage to something, so that's worthwhile. No actual suckers for these guys. So my favorite phase, Necron shooting. That was a super glorious shooting phase for me. So the hex mark that wiped out the commandos killed off all the grots too. 3 of these immortals actually managed to kill off 2 of the Wind Riders. The remaining 7 immortals did 1 damage to the Wartrike. The Annihilation Barge wiped out the Dire Avengers that used to be over here. The Tomb Blades actually did a point of damage to the Death Copters. And this hex mark killed 3 of these boys. So the charge phase, all of these scarabs are going to charge into the Wraithblade. The Scorpic Destroyers are going to charge into the Death Copters. And the Lich Guard are going to charge into the Wind Riders. Alright, that should be a good experience. So everybody made their charges. Nobody died in Overwatch. The Scarabs managed to kill off 2 of the Wraithblades and lost 2 Scarabs in return. Scorpex killed off 2 of the Death Copters and took a little bit of damage. And the Lich Guard just completely annihilated the Wind Riders. So yeah, that was super nice. Alright, so that'll take us to the top of round 2. We're going to start this time with the Eldar get to go first this time, so we'll start off with their movement. So the Wraithblades over here are going to stay in combat with the Scarabs. The Wraithlord has moved up, and the Spirit Seer moved up kind of diagonally over there. Over here, the Guardian Defenders advanced way up into the building. The Wraith Knight just moved up. The Farseer and the Warlocks got closer behind the Dire Avengers, who moved forward to take on the Lich Guard. So for the Psychic phase, the Warlocks are going to try and do Enhance and Protect on the Dire Avengers. So Enhance goes up on a 7. Get it on an 8. So that's a +1 to hit in the fight phase, and then Protect. Gets up with a 10, so that's a +1 to the saving throw. So for the Farseer, he's going to try and do Executioner. That'll go up on these guys, but it goes up on a 7. Why do the Warlocks always manage to get it? And he didn't get it at all. Alright. So the Eldar shooting phase then. Alright, so the Wraith Knight managed to kill off the Hexmark Destroyer and 5 of the Immortals. Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing that managed to happen here. These guys tried to kill off the Immortals and didn't do anything. The Avengers actually killed a Lich Guard, but he reanimated, so it's not like they actually managed to kill it. So Eldar charging. These Dire Avengers are going to charge into the Lich Guard here. The Wraithblade is going to charge into the Scarabs that are already in combat with the Wraithblades. That'll be it for charges for the Eldar. So charge and fight phase. Alright, well the Dire Avengers made it in, did no damage, and then got completely killed off by the Lich Guard. The Wraithlord made it in, killed off 2 of the Scarabs, then the Wraithblades attacked, and didn't really do much of anything. I think they killed off a Scarab unit. The Scarabs turned around and killed off one of the Wraithblades, and then failed to get any real good reanimation rolls, so none of the Scarabs came back. Got to roll 12 dice, only got 2 5s. It wasn't enough to save one. It made me sad. So that'll be the end of the Eldar turn. And then the thing that makes me happy is that it's the Necron turn. So we'll do the reanimation and the living metal and all that stuff and movement. So the Scarab units and one of the Scorpex regained a wound. Scarab is going to stay in combat over here. The Scorpex are also going to stay in combat with the Depthcopter. The Spider advanced up to get really, really close here. These Immortals advanced down out of their building. The Hexmark is going to stay where he's at. The Tombblades are going to stay where they're at. The Technomancer reanimated one of the Warriors. They're going to stay where they're at. He's just going to hang out here. The Annihilation Barge moved up to this back street. The Lich Guard have moved up closer to the HQ grouping here. These Immortals are just going to stay up here and hopefully kill something. And the Transcendent Catan has moved out into the large grouping of Orcs here, which will take us up to his Catan Shard power. Alright, so once again we're going to do Cosmic Fire, which will hit everything within 9 inches, which is the Beast Boss, the Beast Boys, the Depth Killer Wartrike, boys right there, not the mech gun, and the very hard to see the War Boss right there. Alright, so goes off on a 4, starting with the Beast Boss. Gets with a 4. Does D3 damage. So it does 1. Put a 1 here so I'll remember. So the Beast Boys gets with a 6. Does 3 damage, which kills 3 of these guys. So then the regular boys gets it with a 6. Does 1 damage, which is enough to kill 1 of these guys. The Death Killer Wartrike does not get it with a 1. And then the War Boss here, hidden in the shadows, gets it with a 5. Does 1 damage to the War Boss. So Yeah, it was kind of a decent cosmic fire. So we'll do some Necron shooting. So the Hexmark Destroyer, with the assistance of these immortals, killed off all the boys that were over here. The Annihilation Barge killed the spirits here. With the combined efforts of the Tomb Blades, the Necron Warriors, they managed to kill off the Death Killer Wartrike. That was super nice to see go away. And these immortals got a little bit of revenge and managed to kill off 5 of these Guardian Defenders. So the charge phase. So the Lich Guard here are gonna multi-charge into both Warlocks and the Farseer. The Spider is gonna charge into the Wraith Lord. I totally forgot to charge with this guy last time, so we're gonna multi-charge with him this time. And he's gonna go into the Beast Boss and the Beast Boys. And then the Scarabs are still in combat along with the Scorpex. Alright, I'll be back in a second, and the board will definitely be changed. Alright, so everybody made their charges. Nobody suffered any Overwatch. The Catan Shard killed off 5 of the Beast Boys, and then took its maximum 3 damage in return. Over here, the Spider did a little bit of damage to the Wraith Lord, and it did 5 damage back to the Spider. The Lich Guard killed off both Warlocks and slightly damaged the Farseer. Regular combat-wise, the Scarabs managed to kill off the 2 remaining Wraith Blades. And the 2 Scorpex killed off the last remaining Depthcopter. So I feel like the Necrons are making a good attempt to stay alive here. It's the end of their turn, and it does make it the Orc turn. So we'll look to Orcs for movement. Alright, so the Death Dread has gotten a lot closer to the Scorpex. The Warboss has finally come out of the alley, and the boys have moved up closer to get to the warriors up there. The Beast Boss and the 2 remaining Beast Boys are just going to stay in combat with the Catan. So, Orc shooting phase. Alright, the Mech Gun killed one of the Necron warriors. And the boys here actually killed one of the Necron warriors. Didn't reanimate. The Death Dread did shoot its twin Scorches at the Scorpack Destroyers, but they saved. So charging, Death Dread's going to charge into the Scorpex. These boys are going to try and charge into the Warriors. And then the Beast Boss and Beast Boys are in combat still with the Transcendent Catan. The Death Dread made his charge, the boys did not. The Death Dread very, very successfully killed off the Scorpex with his Dread Claws. So since the boys didn't make it, we did a regular combat with these guys. So the boys didn't do anything, and the Beast Boss did a couple points of damage. And then the Transcendent just killed off the Beast Boys. Alright, so that'll make it the end of the Orc turn, and the end of round 2. So we'll start off round 3 with the Orcs going first. So we'll do some movement for them. The Death Dread is continuing his march forward and has moved a lot closer to these Tomb Blades. The boys have gotten to a much closer charge range for the Warriors. Warboss is following behind them. That gun never moves. And the beast boss is just going to stay in combat with the Catan. So, orc shooting. Alright, so the mech gun and the war boss each killed one of the Necron warriors, and the Death Dread killed off one of the Tomb Blades. Okay, so orc charging. The Death Dread is going to definitely charge into the Tomb Blades. The boys are going to charge into the Necron warriors. I trust the beast boss to be able to kill off the Catan shards, so the war boss is too far away to charge the warriors, so I'm just gonna... Nah, screw it. He'll charge into the Catan shards into the Catan shard just to hopefully make sure. That should do it for charges. Everybody definitely made their charges. The Death Dread definitely eviscerated the Tomb Blades. The boys, I don't know what you do to warriors, pull them apart, turn them into more beating sticks. The war boss definitely made it in over here. They all made it. He himself managed to do the 3 damage necessary to the Catan shard, and then the Catan shard killed the beast boss and got the war boss down to 1. So yeah, desperate straits for the Necrons right now. The center is pretty much almost destroyed. So that's the end of the orc turn. And that'll make it the Necron turn. So movement. Alright, so the Catan shard and the spider both gain a wound from living metal. These mortals have advanced up here to get better shots to get back into the fray. The Hexmark has just moved up. The Overlord has moved over to get closer to the boys. The Annihilation Bar didn't really move, I just kind of aesthetically turned it around so it could shoot at the Death Dread. The Technomancer has flown over here to be next to these Immortals. And that's pretty much all the movement that they're doing. So, for the Catan Shard power, we're going to do Cosmic Fire again. So, within 9 inches, that'll be the Mech Gun and the War Boss. So, on the War Boss, goes off on a 4. That's a 2. It does not go off. That's unfortunate, because he only had 1 wound left. That would have killed him. So, the Mech Gun. It also does not go off on the Mech Gun. Sad face. I really wanted the War Boss to die from the Cosmic Fire, so I didn't have to deal with having to kill him in the fight phase, because that's what's going to have to happen now. So we'll do the Necron shooting phase. So these Immortals managed to finally kill off these Guardian Defenders over here. And it took the Hexmark, the 8 Immortals in this grouping that could actually see the Death Dread, and the Annihilation Barge. Took all 3 of those guys to kill off the Death Dread. But they did manage it. So, charges. The Overlord is going to charge into the boys. And then for regular combat, we have the Scarabs and the Spider with the Wraithlord, the Lich Guard and the Farseer, the War Boss, and the Transcendent Catan. The Overlord made his charge, suffered no damage in Overwatch, and killed off 4 of the boys. They didn't do anything back to him at all. So the Catan killed off the War Boss. It took all of the Scarabs and the Spider, but they did manage to kill off the Wraithlord. And the Lich Guard killed off the Farseer. That's the end of the Necron turn, which makes it the Eldar turn. The Wraith Knight here is the only Eldar unit left. So his movement. So the Wraith Knight has just popped around the corner here and is preparing to stomp on some Lich Guard. Probably going to shoot a whole bunch of this other stuff farther down the street first though. So shooting phase. I feel the Wraith Knight was definitely trying to get some revenge because he for sure killed off 3 of the Canoptic Scarabs and the Spider. I don't get to use that Spider very often, Wraith Knight, but thanks. So for the charge phase, the Wraith Knight is going to charge into the Lich Guard. The Wraith Knight successfully charged into the Lich Guard. He stepped on 2 of them and took 2 damage from their swords. So that will end round 3. So we'll head into round 4 with the Necrons at the top here. So let's start with Necron movement 10. Alright, so the Catan Shard regains a wound, and the Technomancer reanimated one of the Immortals. The Immortals then advanced off the building. The Technomancer is just going to hang out. The Scarabs advanced over from where they were, and the Annihilation Barge just made another aesthetic turn without actually moving, so that his guns at least faced the target. The Immortals over here advanced forward. This Destroyer just moved up. The Overlord is going to stay in combat. And the Catan Shard has moved closer to the mech gun. So for the Catan Shard's power, we're going to do Antimatter Meteor. So roll a d6. On a 3 to 5, this thing will take 3 mortal wounds. That's a 3. Alright. 3 wounds to the mech gun, puts it down to 3 health. And we'll do some Necron shooting. Alright, so the Hexmark Destroyer definitely killed off all of the boys. I really do like the fact that it has a pistol weapon because shooting into stuff that's in combat is super awesome. So charge phase. Charge phase is going to be the Catan Shard into the mech gun. The Lich Guard are still in combat with the Wraith Knight. We'll see how that goes for them. Alright, the Catan made his charge and did not suffer overwatch. He definitely turned those orc, the little grotlings and the mech gun itself into non-existence. Over here, the Wraith Lord stomped all of the Lich Guard to death. They didn't do anything at all to him. So the orcs have been eliminated, and the Wraith Knight is the only thing left for the Eldar. It is the Eldar turn, so he's not going to move. I think he's just going to shoot stuff, so we'll do some Eldar shooting. The Wraith Knight destroyed the Scarabs, and then the Annihilation Barge managed to actually make all of his saves. I mean, it's not quite the awesomeness that quantum shielding used to be, but it's still nice to have it invulnerable against the ranged, so gain Necrons. There's nobody left that charged forward, so the orcs are dead. That makes it the Necron turn. So everyone's going to be hauling balls over to try and shoot the Wraith Knight down. So yeah, movement. So everything that's not the Annihilation Barge advanced over towards the Wraith Knight. The Catan Shard's pretty far away. This Hexmark is super far away. The Technomancer reanimated one of the Immortals. They all advanced forward. They're close, but they've got buildings in the way, so definitely too far away to do a Catan Shard power. So we'll do some Necron shooting. It's only a matter of time until we kill the Wraith Knight. It's just curiosity to see if the Wraith Knight can kill off the Necrons before they can kill off the Wraith Knight. And the possibility is, it exists, so I'm going to drag it out. The Annihilation Barge managed to do 9 damage to the Wraith Knight, which puts it down to the second bracket, but does not kill it. Nobody's close enough to charge this thing yet, so that makes it the Eldar turn. So yeah, this thing does want to move closer. It does want to charge something to try and stomp on it. Alright, so he just moved toward his maximum distance to get closer to the Annihilation Barge. Just slightly out of charge range, but he can dump everything he has shooting-wise into the barge. The Wraith Knight has managed to destroy the Annihilation Barge. That was like one of the 2 ways that I might have been able to kill the Wraith Knight. Now I'm not entirely sure I can. So yeah, that'll make it the Necron turn. So the Technomancer reanimated another Immortal. The Catan Shard regained a health. And everybody just advanced forward towards the Wraith Knight as far as they could. These guys are trying to get behind him. These guys are just coming. Still too far away for Catan Shard power. So 9 of these Immortals are in range, and they're going to shoot at this guy. Sad panda. So there were a lot of hits and there were a lot of wounds, but because more than 50% of this guy is behind this building, and they're really only shooting at the black things sticking out there, he made most of his saves. And when I say most, I mean all. Yellow dice really like to work well toward the end of the game too, apparently. Alright, these guys are too far away to charge, so that makes it the Wraith Knight's turn. He's gonna probably get closer to this blob over here. In fact, we can just do that now. Measure it out. Well, if I had just moved him without measuring, I would have probably put him an inch short, but he's really close to these guys, and I'd say we're getting kind of close to a final showdown. So the Wraith Knight is going to shoot off everything it has. So the Wraith Knight is definitely fighting for his survival here. He killed off the Hexmark. He did the maximum 3 damage to the Catan. And he killed 6 of these Immortals. So for his charge phase, he's going to multi-charge into the Overlord and the Immortals. So the Wraith Knight made his charge, didn't suffer any damage in Overwatch. Killed off all of the remaining Immortals. And then the Overlord with his Void Size did 6 damage. So he's not dead, but he's hurt. He's not on the last bracket yet, unfortunately, but it is the Necron turn. So, movement. So the Catan Shard gains a wound because of living metal. The Technomancer here reanimated another Immortal. The Immortals just moved up closer, as did the Catan Shard. He's definitely close enough to do his Catan powers, so we're going to do Antimatter Meteor. That's a 6, so D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. Sorry, there's my 6. So D3, so 2 plus 3 is 5 mortal wounds. Make that 6-1. I didn't say it, but the Overlord's just going to stay in combat. So as such, there won't be a shooting phase. The charge phase will be the Catan charging into the Wraith Knight, and then regular combat between the Overlord and the Wraith Knight. I'm hoping this is the last turn, that between these two they can kill off this Wraith Knight. That would be really nice on my part, I think. So let's see if they can manage that. The Catan Shard made his charge and did indeed kill off the Wraith Knight. Man, that was a pain in my ass. So this means the Necrons won this hard-fought battle between a rock and a hard place. Yeah, that was crazy. I truly did think that losing the Locust Heavy Destroyers as early in the game as I did meant that there wasn't going to be any way to kill off the Wraith Knight. And yeah, I'm glad these guys were able to chase it down and just kind of beat it to death. Whew, this was a long, hard-fought battle. I didn't think the Necrons were going to win this one. If you made it to the end of the battle, I do appreciate it, especially on long games like this one. So, my War in Heaven mini prequel thing, I guess, here, did pretty well. Lost a lot of Necrons. I figured that was going to happen. The Orcs did really, really well for themselves. I was super surprised by that. I think the Eldar could have done some better shooting, but the yellow dice are kind of strange sometimes. All in all, this was a good game. I enjoyed this a lot. I hope you guys enjoy watching it. I noticed recently I've hit a little bit past 250 subscribers. I don't think that I have anything planned for 250, so if you did subscribe, thanks a lot. I do greatly appreciate it. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Lots of fun coming. And here already. Oh my god, this was a good time. Thanks for watching and have a good day.